Looks like the picture is too dark this way because of the sunlight. Let me see if I can turn it around and see if it's better. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me rearrange my setup here. 1 moment. Just 1 moment. All right. Let's see. Make it do what it do. All right, I think this is better in terms of the image. All right. Anyway, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Yasafa from Zion Law School. This is the free astrotheology course. I think we're 2 years in. 1.5 years, 2 years in on doing these free astrotheology classes. This is our second time doing the Devil's Pulpit. I may do it again once the restrictions are removed from my YouTube account because I'll have a broader reach. I haven't decided yet. But y'all have to forgive my book. There was a big storm here yesterday. And unfortunately, I got caught in it. So you'll see my pages are wet still. But anyway, it is what it is. So excuse that. And let's get into it. Hopefully we won't have too many distractions. Hold on, y'all. Hey, man, you have a straw? Straw. Straw. Hold on. My fire keeps going out. Actually, I kind of like this setup. This little tea set. Yeah, but yeah, you shouldn't put your, you give me clean, don't. Excuse me, sir. Now, do you speak English? I'm asking him to give me a straw, but don't put his hands all over it. Just a straw, without, like that. He left? Never mind. Anyway, y'all, the guy comes out, he puts his hand all over my straw. It's dirty. It's dirty. I don't want to use it. It's not clean. Anyway, I don't want it. This lady, she doesn't understand me. In some countries, they have a different hygiene standard. Okay, a different hygiene standard. And at one time, y'all, not washing your hands was appropriate in the old days because people were clean. People would wash their hands, right? So you could touch, and there was immunity. There were no bioengineered pathogens like we have today. So there was no need for the type of hygiene standards that you have to have today with all of these engineered biopathogens. So in cultures like, let's say, India, hello. It's a little girl standing here curious. She's listening to me speak. But you didn't need all of that because it was natural. And when you're exposed to bacteria, fungus, or fungi, etc., you build an immunity. It makes you stronger. But these days, you know, people with the pathogens, the engineered stuff, and people's nasty habits. I don't want to have anything to touch somebody's bare hand. But anyway, let's get started. We are on page, oh, my book is all wet. We're on page 115, y'all. So like and share the video for me, y'all. Let somebody know we're here. I need about 36 more subscribers to hit 1,000. And as I told you guys before, YouTube sent me a notice that when I get to 1,000 subscribers, they're going to remove the restrictions. So I'll have a broader reach. More people will come and be able to see the video. Okay, y'all? So like and share the video for me. Help me get to 36 because it's about getting the message to the people and hitting that or activating the 99th or the 100th monkey phenomena principle, okay? So let's start at the second paragraph. Yeah, like that. Yeah, thanks. So he brought me, thank you. Thank you. So he brought me the plastic straw. Now this, I feel much better about using this. So y'all know I have my honey. This is velvet rose tea. And I've only seen this tea in Vietnam. So those of y'all who've been following me, you may remember that I lived in Mexico for a minute and then in India. And I got to experience their coffee and tea culture. It's much better here in Vietnam. I can assure you, it's much better in Vietnam. And it's clean, more clean. Okay. When I went to India, I got sick like 3 times, like really sick. Okay, y'all, so we are in business. All right. I feel good about my setup here. It's delicious. Very good. I paid about $3 US for this. Okay, y'all. Second paragraph, page 115. First, a critical view on it. So what critical view on what? The critical view on the gospel. See, there are 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it as being something that you need to have faith in, and you believe whatever the faith requires you to believe. You just believe on faith. Then your other option is to get rid of believing and read it according to its literal meaning. Like I used to say in my classes, only concern yourself with what's written on the page. The words, the grammar rules. When I say words, I mean the etymology of the words, the word morphology, of course, right? Because that contributes to meaning also. And, of course, the grammar rules. The grammar rules, okay, is extremely important. And, of course, you have to put it in the context of the alleged history, things that were happening in that time, okay? And then, of course, we consider philology, which the philology, the astronomy, the astrology, put it together, you get astrotheology, right? Okay, the study of God or the worship of the stars, okay? and of course the history. All right, so that's the second option. So the critical view involves the second option, the literal consideration of what these texts mean. But hold of criticism, I would recommend all good Christians to be innocent, for the faculty of criticism is fatal to Christianity. You understand that? In other words, when you apply the Trinity Gospel Buster, which is astronomy, astrology, etymology, philology, and of course history, the gospel falls apart in terms of being a pretended, or let me restate that. The gospel becomes exposed as being a fairy tale. Okay? So let's continue. The gospel will bear anything else, but it will not bear to be criticized. See, this explains why those religious leaders, the Catholic Church, etc., took such extreme went to such an extreme to prevent people from exposing these gospels, because it's very easy to do. It's not hard at all. As those of you who have been here, you can see it's actually quite simple. Even though this book, this sermon was given in 1831, the book published somewhere around 1854, 1857, it's an old style English, and it makes it a difficult read, I think, for most people, because the language is old. The words that they use are old. Some of the caricatures are old. We don't know about them. So it takes a lot of work to try to figure this out. But past that, this is very simple, very easy. Okay, very simple and very easy. Actually, I'm thinking about rewriting this. I don't know if I have time to do it. But I could, if I had the time, I could write this. But I don't even know if there's a desire for our people to even read this. But the thought has come to my mind. It would be time consuming, but not difficult. Just time consuming. You got to sit down and do it, right? Then you got to proofread it and do all the design stuff. It takes a lot of time to write a book, believe it or not. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. The gospel will bear anything else, but it will not bear to be criticized. The moment you begin to criticize, it's farewell to faith, right? Farewell to faith. There's no knowing where it will lead you to. That's right, y'all. When you start to uncover what these gospel stories really mean, what they really mean, you don't know how it's going to change you and your life, right? You don't know what's around the corner. But I can guarantee you this, you'll be much better off. But it's the fear of that change, the fear of not knowing. I know a Hebrew Israelite Christian in GOCC, and one of the things she always used to say to me was that she didn't want to give up her foundation, right? She wanted to give up her foundation because what would she do? That's all she knows, or something like that, right? So for a lot of people, maybe including you, maybe that's a scary place to be. I don't know, but it's not been an issue for me. But it will change you in the most fundamental way, okay? So let's continue. There's no knowing where it will lead you to, right? It might lead you, or hopefully it will lead you out of religion. For only see now what helter-skelter comes on it. Okay, so in other words, the gospel causes people to do crazy stuff, y'all. to do crazy stuff. They lose their connection to nature. They lose their rational mind. Okay? The moment you take up the bosom of criticism, all right? So I can guarantee you this, scholars. When you look at the holy scriptures, not just the Gospels, but all of them, and you apply etymology, philology, of course, science, right? The astronomy, astrology, and the history. When you do that, and you see what these stories are actually telling you, well, you can never go back. You can literally never go back. All right? And I hope that's what everybody wants, because the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. But I've had some of the scholars come through Zion Law School, and they told me privately that they knew, this is about the Tetragrammaton, that they knew it was a demon, right? But they said they were going to continue as they were because all their friends are in their church. And they don't want to lose their friends. I've had several people tell me that. Now, I don't understand that kind of thinking, but it is what it is. Some people prefer to be in the dead state, civilly dead and believing a lie. Okay? Or in other words, they prefer to cling to the principles that delude to slavery, external deity worship, looking for somebody else to save them, and personality cults. So this is dried ginger with sugar. I don't usually eat this, but they serve it, so why not? All right. I think I went through this yesterday on the last video, so I'm not going to spend too much time with this, okay? Quote unquote, and he spake a parable to them, a vast cries criticism. So here's an example of criticism or critical thinking. Who spake to whom? Remember the quote. And he spake a parable to them. Who spake or who spoke to whom? Where did they speak? When did they speak? And how did they speak? And what the devil is a parable. Now y'all know that the meaning of parable that Christ gave is different from the meaning of parable that all of the religions teach. They give different definitions than what Christ gave. You have to ask yourself why. Quote unquote. A parable to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Well, think about that. If you're always praying to an external deity to solve your problem, how much time are you going to spend focusing on solving your problem? Almost zero. But what you will spend your time on is focusing on the problem. And when you focus on the problem, guess what happens? You activate your imagination. Your imagination is your God faculty. Let me repeat that. Your imagination is your God faculty. Doesn't that explain why in the public school systems there's absolutely zero focus on developing the imagination? Have y'all ever thought about that? Absolutely none. That's why I keep suggesting to you scholars that you learn about and practice the silver method. Because the silver method is not just meditation, but it also teaches you how to develop your imagination. In other words, how to develop your God faculty so that you can begin to be who you are. But you can't be that fully. Hold on. All right. But you cannot be that fully until you learn how to use your imagination to create or to manifest. That's what they say today, manifest. Hold on, y'all. I really need a studio. I thought that by coming here I would avoid the distraction. But I was wrong. But anyway, it's through the use of your imagination. That's what makes you Psalms 82, verse 6. All of you are, quote unquote, God's sons of the Most High. All of you are significant people who have the power to create your own reality. And the mechanism of that is your imagination and your reticular activating system in your brain. And that's the short and skinny of it. You can read all the books you want on success and achievement. You can read all the books you want on time management. You see this information in the Gospels because the Gospels are full of the mind sciences. You can read it all. I know I have. And at the end, you'll realize what I just said to you. All right, let's continue. Let me say that again. If you're always praying, right. All right, so if you're always praying, you're focused on what? The deity doing something for you. You're talking about the problem, how you feel about the problem. Oh, man. Or whatever it is, you're still focused on the problem. And that will cause your imagination to make that problem appear in your life. Okay? That's how it works. That's how it works. All right, let's continue. I think I'm going to have to move. Hold on. Oh, man. Okay. So note the order, the command given here. Note the command. A parable to this end, that men ought always to pray and not faint. Notice that is to who? Those on the outside of the house. That's to those who are not in the who are not in the secret societies, who are not Christ's apostles. You're supposed to always pray, right? So they do you dirty, oppress you, and you go pray about it, which means you got your mind thinking on it, and you're going to get more of it in your life. So you see how they program you, set you up for failure through this order? I can assure you that those people who are in the inside of the house are not praying for some deity to help them. Always praying. Absolutely not. What are they doing? They're following natural law. And they're making things happen on their own initiative. Right? On their own initiative. And those on the outside of the house are helping them without knowing it, because they're using their imagination in a negative, disempowering, punishing way. Okay? Their state of mind is bondage, powerlessness. Whereas those on the inside of the house, these are the ones who Christ tells everything to, tells all the secrets to, so that they can repent, they can exit religion, they can repent, exit Oz, right, in the Wizard of Oz. They can exit the imaginary world and step back into nature and natural law. And then use their imagination, their imagination faculty to imagine what they want, plan it out, and work their plan. All right? So this is duplicity at its finest. All right? It continues. And what's the use of always praying? And what's to make men faint when they leave off praying? I can tell you what's to make men faint when they stop praying, because their prayers don't get answered. And when the prayers don't get answered, they panic. And when you panic, what can happen? Well, you can faint, right? Changes in your blood pressure, a lot of things. You can literally faint. All right, and straightforward enough, you see, while you sit in the booby hutch at your church or chapel. So by the booby hutch, that's the, what do they call it in modern times? Is it called the, not the pupil, but the, y'all know the video I did where I showed what the writing means on the church, the benches in the church? I forgot the name of it. But anyway, that's what he's talking about, as far as I know. And never dream, so you're sitting there in the on the benches in the church, and you never dream of asking yourself or anybody else what it means, right? Y'all just sit there and you listen. I know that's what I used to do. I would research the doctrine, but I wouldn't research outside of the doctrine. But most of the people in the religion that I was in, they would, in the beginning, research, and then after that, they stopped. But see, that's a psychological process. That's human nature. And cults work this way. There's an initial getting to know each other and building of trust, right? But then once the trust is built, most people will stop asking questions after the trust has been built. Okay? And the religions, the cults, they know this. They know it. Okay? That's why they can get away with obvious wrongdoing according to their own doctrine. And their members stay. Right? Because of the trust. All right. But discovering to startled attention of the critical mind the frightful truth, and indeed it's frightful, y'all, that a parable to such an end as that men ought always to pray and not faint could by no possibility have been delivered either by God or man, before that end was an end, which priestcraft had to serve. And that notion of everlasting praying, men ought not to stop praying, everlasting praying, was in full vogue amongst men. So what is he saying here? He's saying that in the Middle Ages, when the Catholic Church was conquering, they were literally torturing and exterminating anyone who didn't agree with their doctrine, or anyone who continued to talk about natural law. Now, when I say natural law, I'm including sciences. All right, I'm including the sciences. They exterminated them, tortured them, but it was in full vogue, meaning that it was very popular. It was very popular for the priestly class to tell people you must pray all the time. Now, put that in context. You know people who are getting kicked out of their homes. You know people who are told that they have to become a Christian. Otherwise, it's curtains. You saw scientists, engineers being exterminated, tortured publicly, burned. Okay, this is what's going on. I'm setting the stage for you. And then you have the priestly class telling you you need to pray all the time. Pray for what? Pray it doesn't happen to you. Do y'all see this? Pray that you're not the one who's being burned on the stake. Pray not that you're not the one who's going to get tortured until you expire by a priest. Pray that you're not the one who's going to be kicked out off of your estate, literally kicked off of your estate, and told you had to leave Europe, or you have to escape Europe for your life. So that's the situation. People were being traumatized. They were afraid for their lives. It was the Inquisition. That's what was going down, the Inquisition. All right, y'all? And a lot of wars going on at that time. So the Catholic Church said you need to pray all the time. And then that shows up in the Gospels. This is what the author is saying. Put two and two together. You should also remember that when the Goths and the Visigoths got the Gospels, they did a lot of editing, right? And the scribes, the Bible editors, they did a lot of editing. Jeremiah 8, verse 8. And what do? They add, change, take away from the scriptures according to the social, political, economic needs at that time. So this would be an example of that. Okay, y'all? You have JC himself saying you need to pray all the time. Don't stop praying. All right? Don't stop praying. Which, again, disables. When you pray about a problem, it disables your quote-unquote God faculty. It makes it work in a negative way against you. Because now, as I said earlier, you're going to manifest, because all of us, every thought, man is thought, made manifest from the land, right? Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. We are thought. Part of thought is imagination. So that God faculty can be activated against you in a negative way. All right? And what does it do? It keeps you in the curses. It keeps you punishing yourself through your own doing. Okay? They got you working to punish yourself without you being conscious of it, because you know nothing about nature and human behavior. All you know is what you've been indoctrinated to know, that's been filtered through your religious doctrine and your educational institutions. Okay? All right, let's continue. Page 116. All right, so we just talked about the priestly craft and what they've done to you in terms of getting you to use your God faculty, your imagination, in a negative direction that actually curses you. Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. Let's continue. Which determines the period of the darkest day of the Dark Ages. That's the Middle Ages. So this was happening at the height of the Inquisition. Okay, now remember, y'all, the scripture that talks about put on the full suit of armor, the breastplate. Well, right now, in today's time, or recent times, that's metaphorical. But at that time, that was literal. That was literal. All right, the church was saying, join the military, get your armor gear ready, and go out and fight. All right, who do they have a battle with? Who's the battle with? Who's the battle with, y'all? The municipalities, who else? Didn't they come? Doesn't the doctrine of discovery tell them to take all our government structures from us, our inheritance? Doesn't it say that? And to give it to their heirs as an inheritance forever? Okay, are we not thought made manifest? Are we not? Yeah. So they talk about that in a negative light, right? In a negative way. But I'm telling you what it means. As I mentioned earlier, mental gender, the great I am, I be, I exist, has no beginning, has no end, it's the Alpha and the Omega. It exists outside of the fleshly body. It's the silent observer. It's that witness for or against yourself. The great I am. The masculine mental energy that exists outside of the body is the I. It exists outside the body. So what does that have to be? Y'all think that the battle that these Christian soldiers, these Templars, were talking about had something to do with you? That quote-unquote spiritual part of you? Including the fleshly part of you? You think about it. Okay? Think about it. Let's continue. All right, so the time period that this is taking place is at the height of the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, the Inquisition, which determines the pattern of the darkest day of the Dark Ages and of the full swing of popish superstition of quote-unquote monks and hermits, cointibites and friars, black friars and gray, and all their trumpery. Black friars. Now that's a quote. Black friars. Do y'all think that these black friars were Moors? I would certainly think so. Just like they're calling our ancestors blackamoor, etc. All right. So these are, it appears to be that these are some of the traitors amongst our people at that time. Okay? Who were involved in this. So in other words, this notion to pray all the time comes out of papal superstition that they pushed on the people. All right? As a fear tactic, fear-mongering. Fear-mongering. You better hope this don't happen to you. You better pray all the time. Giving you a reason to pray. All right? Neither could it have been delivered or devised before the times of the general prevalence of that most wicked notion of election. So the Hebrew Israelites say that all the Hebrew Israelites are the elect. And reprobation. So you hear a lot of Hebrew Israelites talking about reprobate people, right? Reprobate-minded people. Since his whole argument is the argument a fortiori, which means that God would avenge his own elect, and that without any consideration of the justice of their case. So the remix of this, y'all, or the other side of this, the doublespeak, the duplicity of it is what? The secret society members, the inner house, are the elect. And God, Zeus, etc., would avenge his elect regardless of whether you, the more, have broken natural law or you have not broken natural law. This deity does not care anything about justice or natural law. Okay? That God would avenge his own elect and that without any consideration of the justice of their cause, right? They could have stolen your estate. That's what's happening right now, right? They steal your estate. They kidnap you. They kidnap your heirs. They exterminate you on the street. They harm you. The essence of natural law is to do no harm. They have no reason to do that based in nature. Right? You didn't threaten their life. You didn't do anything like that. It's your estate, not theirs. But this deity, the gospel doctrine, has no care about justice. All right? But merely because they were his elect, merely because they're part of the secret society, as our judges of the present day at that time was 1831, and he was in Albion, in the UK, in London. All right, so that was the feudal system right there, right, y'all? That's the feudal system happening, and the courts were working in harmony with the religious organizations, with the church. Was it the Church of England, y'all? And the Pope, the Catholic Church and the Church of England? Okay? Whose characters are bound by these evangelical examples. In other words, the injustice that you say the judge is doing, or the so-called judge, the man or woman in the black robe, who's not a judge, not an Article 3 judge, but that injustice, you've been trained to think it's an injustice, but they have been trained to know that what they're doing is what they're supposed to do as a good Christian. Why? Because it is double speak, dual meanings. Okay? Now let's continue. As our judges of the present day, whose characters are bound by these evangelical examples, that's the example of the unrighteous judge and the unrighteous steward, would convict an infidel, that's someone who doesn't believe what they believe, not because they had any evidence or guilt against him, okay? So, for example, you get pulled over by the policy enforcers. You're either walking or you're in your conveyance, okay? And you know how that's going to go down and what they're trying to do. You've done nothing wrong, okay? And then they try to rob you of your birthright, and then kidnap you and hold you for ransom. This is what he's talking about. He's talking about the implementation and execution of maritime admiralty law, Catholic Christian canon, corporate policy against the heirs, the rightful heirs of the land, the Moors. This is what he's talking about. However that might happen, through whatever corporation it might happen through. Okay, y'all? That's what he's talking about. So, and not because they had any evidence or guilt against him, not because they had any argument to show that he wasn't a good-hearted man, etc., okay? But merely because he was an infidel, merely because you are, what? A Moorish subject. Merely because you are a Moor or a Moorish subject. Y'all got it? That's why. Because they're in the business of stealing your birthright. What are they going to do without your stuff? What are they going to live on? Who's going to create, innovate, if it's not the Moors? If it's not the rightful heirs of the land, who's it going to be? Who does all the innovation now? We do. Or to take it to a lower level, what are they going to do without all of the Moorish subjects playing football? There would be no NFL. What about the Moorish subjects playing basketball? There'd be no NBA, etc. Okay? That's across the board. Across the board. What about in the music industry? What if there were no Moors or Moorish subjects? Whatever their status may have been, mostly subjects. What if there were none of them? There'd be no record companies. There'd be no American culture. So you, the Moor, is the infidel here. This is the curses, right? Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. Clearly, this is the curses. All right? So let's continue. The infidel lamb that should be accused of making the stream run backward would be sure to be found guilty. Where the Christian wolf did try him. Y'all see that? You got the criminal in charge of the prison, so to speak. The prison in charge of the court. The criminal in charge of the court. You'll get no justice. You only get more criminal activity. All right, y'all? That's his point here. O Christian justice, how doest thy shine forth? When the proprietor of the shop, of the other shop, gives verdict against ours. When the sworn knave that has the letting of the body of the booty Hutches, in his own chapel, finds the rotunda guilty. In other words, he gave his lectures in the rotunda, okay? And on the building is called the Rotunda. The street is, I believe it's Blackfriars Street. And he taught what I'm going through right now. All of these astrotheology lectures he taught in the Rotunda. But his point is that they're teaching ridiculous religious doctrines in these churches, in these cathedrals. Okay? It's outright, it's evident and obvious that they're teaching lies. Okay? That they're doing it to rob people. So he's calling them criminals. But these criminals, these religious leaders, are calling him the devil's chaplain. Okay? They're robbing people and robbing their estates, but yet they pull him into court. And he winds up doing time. Okay, so now you got the criminal executing justice. That's his point here. This is Christian justice. That's his point. That's Christian justice. The criminal is in charge of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government in Christian ideology. Okay? So let's continue. A further indication of time is betrayed to us in the awkwardly dropped stitch, quote unquote, nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith upon the earth? An admission as clear as day that whoever the Son of Man was, he was not then upon earth. So how could Jesus be the Son of Man, since Jesus was on earth that time? But see, we've been taught to believe that Jesus was talking about himself, or that the text, rather, let me say that. The text is talking about Jesus, but it cannot be, because Jesus was already on earth. Okay, so this is critical thinking. But we only accepted that it's talking about Jesus because we believe. Okay, but when we apply logic, critical thinking, it could not be Jesus because Jesus was on the earth. Okay? An admission as clear as day that whoever the Son of Man was, he was not then upon earth. And that consequently, the speaker in the text could not be the Son of Man. None of your clergy in church or chapel can tell you, and then the author says, I can. They know him not. I do. I have seen him myself. I know him very well, and all his family, and I can show him to you. Well, I want to see. I'm ready. I want the author to show me who he is. And in doing this, I haven't to beseech you to see with your eyes of faith. So he's saying he's going to show you, and you don't need to believe. You don't need to believe. To look to the things which are invisible. You don't need to be spiritual. You don't need no Holy Spirit. The church, the religious leader can't say, well, you don't understand because you don't have the Holy Spirit. You ain't got the Spirit. So it's not about any of that. Okay? So I have no occasion to draw upon your credulity. That means he's not asking you, or he's not going to take advantage of your history of believing anything without doing any research. You just accept it and believe it. See, your naivete, you give credit. Y'all see that? You give credit without doing any research. Okay, but this is what the Christians require you to do. You need to give them full faith and credit, which is a violation of natural law. You give full faith and credit, and you know nothing. You've done no research. You just accept it. So you give them credit. Okay? And to entreat you to believe me, as my dear hearers, lest of all to stupefy you out of the exercise of your reason. And this is what the churches do, right? They use incantations, charms in the form of sermons, music. These days, I'm even starting to notice on YouTube that they even have meditations. Yeah, meditations with religion in it, with religious doctrine and dogma in it. All right, they bewitch you. Actually, y'all know that when the preacher comes out, he has on all his bling, he has on all of his gear. Y'all know that's bewitching, right? Especially for young people who are impressionable. But these are the tricks of the trade. All right, so what are they doing? They're making it appear that they have power. They make it appear that they're close to the deity and that they represent the deity. But it's only an appearance. And based upon that appearance, our people gave them full faith and credit. Right? We relied on everything they said. And many of our people are still doing that. But hopefully, as people begin to watch these videos or read this book and others like it on their own, hopefully they're going to take away that full faith and credit and not rely on them. Now, my position is that religion is the number one mechanism of our oppression, and that we need to abandon Christianity and all of these religions, give it back to them in its present form. Now, we can preserve the astronomy or astrological aspect, but we have to remove the Jeremiah 8:8, right? We got to remove the lies. We got to remove the religion that was edited in. So that still has value. But what we're going through right now has value too, because the easiest and fastest way out of something is the same way you got in. So isn't that the principle of opposites, y'all? Isn't that the law of polarity? The Hermetic law of polarity? Opposites, the law of opposites, right? All right. Let's continue. He that believeth, notice this, y'all. Oh, I forgot to read this. Lest of all to stultify you out of your exercise of reason with that villainous denunciation. Check this out, y'all. He that believeth not shall be damned. He that believeth not shall be damned. What does damn mean? That means you go to hell and you burn for eternity. Put it in context. The context is you're in the height of the Inquisition. The height of the Inquisition. And you see people being burned at the stake. You see people being tortured and tormented. You see people being robbed of their estate. Every hardship, every form of suffering, you see it. This is the height of the Inquisition during the Middle Ages. And then the preacher tells you, he that does not believe in this doctrine that the Catholic Church is pushing forth shall be damned. Now, you already been told you need to pray every day. I mean, you need to pray all day, every day. So what's the message in here? You need to stop using your analytical mind. You need to give full faith and credit to whatever doctrine the priestly class tells you. Whatever they write in the Gospels, in the Bible, you need to give it full faith and credit. You need to rely on it. Otherwise, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. Otherwise, well, in modern days, you have the JW organization and some Hebrew Israelite organizations teaching a different doctrine. For example, you die and you don't get resurrected again, so you're just dead, right? Or you won't get in the kingdom. So these types of doctrines, all right? So anyway, that's what's happening with it. All right? This is, according to the author, villainy. Only a villain would put somebody in a position like that. Well, I don't understand it. I haven't researched it. I don't know if it's consistent with natural law, but me right now, if I don't believe it, I'm going to be damned. I'm going to burn in hell for eternity. Have y'all ever burnt your hand or had a burn on your body? That's probably one of the most painful experiences you can have. And around me, I'm seeing people being burned at the stake. I'm seeing every type of terrorism and torture, because this is the height of the Inquisition. And now you hit me with this. So y'all, this Christianness is not something we just accepted. No, this was forced on us through torture, warfare, and terrorism. Both physical and psychological. He that believeth not shall be damned. That's a form of psychological abuse. So imagine if, let's say a man or a woman with the consort, right? And he is abusing her. And he says, well, either you accept it or get the hell out. And they have no financial means to support themselves. They have no heir, no kinfolk, nobody to turn to. So what position is that person in? Well, they're in the position that they're going to have to stay there until they can create something better for themselves, right? If they're able to do it. A lot of people can't do it. A lot of people choose to stay in the abusive situation. But it's very abusive. It's a psychological form of warfare, y'all. He that believeth not shall be damned. Okay? So there's your warning. You don't accept this doctrine, no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter that you had no opportunity to study it, then you're damned. You're going to burn in hell. Only be men and exercise your rational faculties as men. Give me no credit at all. All right? So the author is saying, don't believe me just because I'm saying it. Don't give me your full faith and credit just because I'm here talking to you. He says, give me no credit at all. Think that I am deceiving you. Yes, he's telling you, think that I am deceiving you. Why? Because that makes you think. You're going to ask questions now. You're going to think analytically. And I'll tell you the principle here. People will do more to prevent the loss of something For example, $10,000. They'll do more to not lose $10,000 than they will to gain $10,000 or Federal Reserve notes, okay? Think that I am deceiving you as long as you can think so, all right? So he's telling you to use your critical mind. From the time you start reading this book or hearing these lessons that I'm giving until the very last page, until the very last word that come out of my mouth or that's written on this page. Think that I'm deceiving you. Don't give full faith and credit until you have heard all of the evidence. Don't believe and don't rely on it. Learn, flesh it out, make sure it's consistent with nature, talk to other people about it, and then, and only then, using your critical mind, should you make a decision. This is what he's telling you. Withhold your conviction to the last struggle, that with reason it can be withheld. See, some people can look at this, they can consider some of this, and boom, they know right away that this is true. Some people are like that, right? They can discern it. The intuitive mind, or maybe they're connected, and this is just the one thing that they were missing, and then boom, all the lights come on. Okay? So the author is saying, don't give me full faith and credit. Don't believe me, don't rely on me, withhold it until you heard all the evidence. Okay? And it shall be mine at last by right of conquest. What? What shall be his at last? The victory. Victory over what? The victory over the gospel. The lies in the gospel. Because that's his whole purpose. His whole purpose is to present to you astrotheology so that you can see that the gospel stories are a fairy tale. And it's really worship of the stars. And it's really double-tongued. It's deceitful. It's meant to keep you down, oppressed, civilly dead, in a stupor, in a stupor mentally, and to keep the secret society members living off of you. Yes, it's meant to keep you as a bondman and a bondwoman, a debtor, and to keep the people on the inner house in the creditor status. Y'all got it? This is all about birthright theft. In the beginning, it was physical war, physical warfare. The Christian put on your physical suit of armor. You see pictures like the Templars. You see them with the armor. They have the cross. These are the Knights Templars, right? And mentally, through the good ship Jesus, through Christianity. All right? So, scholars, the Gospels represent the execution of the curses. Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. And the mechanism by which your enemies, according to the scriptures, your enemies will denationalize you and live off of you. Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. That's what this is all about, the curses. All right? And thus, sirs, where is it that this Son of Man is showing of the text itself was to be seen? Quote unquote. So this is asking us, where are we to see the Son of Man? When the Son of Man comes back, where are we to see him? How is he coming back? When is he coming back? Etc. The Gospels answer, quote unquote, coming in the clouds of heaven. The Son of Man is coming in the clouds of heaven. Well, you know what, y'all? The Son the sun sun, the disk in the sky, it comes in the clouds of heaven every morning, doesn't it? About 5:30 in the morning in most places on earth. 5:30 a.m., 5:45 a.m. You see the sun rising about 5:30, 5:45 a.m. in the morning. The sun is rising. Every eye sees the sun. You tell me, who cannot see the sun when the sun is rising? Every eye sees the sun. Where is it coming? It's coming with the clouds. Because the clouds are in the heavens. The clouds are in the sky. And every eye sees those clouds. Then, in the name of God, in the name of Zeus, in the name of Odin, where else should we look for him? Where else should we look for the Son of Man? But in the clouds of heaven. And when is the Son of Man to be seen coming in the clouds of heaven? Immediately after the days have been shortened. So, you should already see the astronomy or astrology here. Immediately after the days are shortened. Well, the shortest day of the year is the winter solstice. December 21, 22. At the end of December 24, 12 midnight, the very beginning of December 25, a shadow is cast on the sundial, whereas for the previous 3 days, there was no shadow cast, and the sun is ascending upward. So the days are lengthening, starting at December 25. Y'all got it? Immediately after the days shall have been shortened. So the winter solstice plus 3 days, December 25, those are the days where the days have been shortened. And then December 25 forward, the length of the days are increasing. So when is the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven? Immediately after the days have been shortened. That would be on December 25. Is the answer to that question. Then immediately after the days shall have been shortened, quote unquote, but when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another, for verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel, Isis, Ra, and El, to the Son of Man be come. That's Matthew chapter 10, verse 23. Here again, you have the speaker, who is Christ, speaking of another. Christ, Jesus, is speaking of someone else. Now, we have been taught to believe, we've been indoctrinated to believe that Christ was talking about himself. As contradistinguished from himself, who was not then come, but who was to come. Before the saints shall have gone over the cities of Israel. So y'all, you see how they taught us how to violate the natural laws of linguistics? You see the consequence that had? We believe that this was talking about Christ, when in fact, it was not. Actually, in fact, if y'all look at Josephus' phony works, y'all know Josephus, his phony works, you're going to find that Christ in Josephus is actually Caesar. Now, I got this from, what's the guy's name? There was a very popular book and video that was out it's been around, maybe 5, 6 years ago. What's the name of the book? Oh, it's Caesar something. It'll come to me. Okay? But that gospel Jesus, that ministry, is reflecting or is parallel in terms of sequence, using typology, which is a literary form. The conquest of Caesar. All right? But anyway, let's get back to gone over the cities. So what does it mean, gone over the cities? Gone over them, sirs, quote unquote, ye shall not have finished them. And who and what were these? Who were to flee from city to city, but not to finish all the cities before coming to the Son of Man? And what sort of cities were they, which these persecuted saints were to go over? But so as never to go beyond them, never to be out of one or other of these cities. So these are really, really good questions. How long have we been on? An hour and 15 minutes. The doorbell writes, Caesar's Messiah. Absolutely, that's what it is. Caesar's Messiah. Caesar's Messiah. Or as, again, this mystical astrologer said to Nicodemus, quote unquote, no man has ascended up into heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven. Oh, say you evangelical preachers, the most ignorant men of their own profession on the face of the earth, quote unquote, it was our blessed Savior himself who was the Son of Man. So y'all know that can't be right, because Jesus talked about the Son of Man coming. So it couldn't have been him, although that's what we've been indoctrinated to believe. And while he was conversing with Nicodemus, he was in heaven at the same time. So does that make sense, y'all? How could he have been on earth and heaven, two different places at the same time? Now, some of y'all religious fanatics will say because God can do anything. But have you ever seen it? Right? Have you ever seen? So you can imagine anything. Anything is possible with the imagination. You can imagine whatever you want to imagine. But we're talking about what's practical. What do we see in the physical world? Right? So that's the question. Can the Son of Man be Jesus talking to Nicodemus, but yet be in the heavens at the same time? Who can be in two places at the same time physically? Physically. Okay? And while he was conversing with Nicodemus, he was in heaven at the same time. So, a very clever trick that, like St. Francis Xavier, he contrived to be aboard two ships at once. Okay, so could you have been on the Titanic at the same time you were at another ship? On another ship? Absolutely not. Oh, by the way, some people will say, well, Jesus was God in the flesh. Well, yeah, he was God in the flesh. He was supposed to be in the flesh and not God. So how can he be in two places at the same time if Jesus is the Son of Man? Right, but there's a whole lot of logical problems with this notion that Jesus, let me not say it because somebody might try to twist the conversation in the direction of that, and I don't want that to happen. So let's continue. But if our evangelical preachers would leave their choice and insulted hearers in possession of their faculty of reason, in other words, the religious leaders, your clergy, your pastor, elder, imam, general, captain, whatever else. See, when they talk to y'all, they enchant you. They bewilder you. They bewitch you. And in process of doing that, when you believe, you give up your reason without even knowing it. Right? Without even knowing it, you deactivate, turn off your rational, analytical, critical thinking mind. Through what? Through these God spells. Through these God spells. These gospels. Through these bewitched. And I'm using that in the modern connotation. Sermons, gospel music, religious music, etc. They make you lose your common sense. Just like you don't have common sense if you believe that somebody can be physically in two places at the same time. I'm not talking about a man or a woman being physically with his consort or lover, but his mind is with somebody else, someplace else. There was a blues record about that, y'all remember? No, that's possible. I'm talking about physically, right? So if you are a Hebrew Israelite Christian, if you're just a Christian, and you believe that Christ can be on earth and in heaven at the same time, you are out of your mind. You're out of your logical mind. Okay, you have been enchanted and bewitched, robbed of your critical thinking mind. All right. But if our evangelical preachers would leave their choused and insulted hearers in possession of their faculty of reason, all that reason that ever was in the world would say that it was utterly preposterous for a person to have spoken of the Son of Man who is in heaven, who had meant that it was himself sitting in his armchair. Okay? Darrell-El writes, your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Darrell-El, who wrote that? Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Who sings that song? I used to like that song. No, that's the OJs. That song is the OJs, right? I think this one you're talking about, Darrell-El, is from the early, maybe mid to early 70s. Your body's here with me. That's the OJs. But there's another blues song. I don't remember what it was, what it is. But anyway, let's keep going. So I'm not trying to belittle you, Christians and Hebrew Israelite Christians, or whatever denomination of Christianity you are in, whether you deny that you're a Christian or not Hebrew Israelites. I'm just telling you straight up that if you believe that, you're out of your logical mind. You are definitely under a spell. But now you're aware, and you have an opportunity to break that spell, get your critical mind back. Okay? Darrell-El writes, yeah, OJ sung that one. Yeah, I love that song. Where are we? Okay. All right. And that if it was in heaven that this Son of Man was, and in the clouds of heaven that he was to make his appearance, it must be nowhere else but in the heavens, even the visible cloudy heavens, that we are to look for him. So this is a question. All right? So the author is saying, well, if he was in the heavens when Christ made the statement, when the Son of Man comes, then he should still be in the heavens, right? Where in the heavens? The clouds. When we look for him, right? Let's continue. But we have a further clue to this mystery, which unravels it. Okay, y'all. So this should be big. This next clue unravels the mystery of who this Son of Man is, which unravels it beyond the mistake of ignorance itself. In other words, you believe what your preacher told you, that ignorant stuff, you believed it as a solution. That's not a solution. Here's the solution according to the author. The epithet, the Son of Man, is found accompanied with a term, absolutely and literally defining what was meant by the Son of Man. Y'all got that? So an epithet is another name for something else. Actually, I have a definition in my book. Let me see. Give me 1 second, if I can find it. Give you a more precise definition if I can find it. Hold on. Epithet, a descriptive substitute for the name or title of someone. Okay? So, for example, Abraham Lincoln, the great, what did they call Abraham? The great emancipator. A doorbell writes. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay? So that's an epithet. So, Son of Man. All right? It is a sign of the Son of Man in heaven, quote unquote. Matthew 24, verse 30. Now, there are but 12 signs in heaven, y'all. Let's do this one more again. The epithet, the Son of Man, is found accompanied with a term, absolutely and literally defining what was meant by the Son of Man. So all we need to do is get this term, and then we'll know literally what Son of Man means. It is, quote unquote, the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Matthew 24:30. Now, there are but 12 signs in heaven, and this sign of the Son of Man is further defined as coming immediately after the end of the world. Y'all should already know, end of the world is a mistranslation of the end of an age, an end of an era, ERA. But anyway, let's let the author talk. Then, of course, it could come now, here else, but at the beginning of the new world. This is where the religions like the JW organization, talked about the new world. They were speaking astrology, double speak, deceptive speech, the new age. But this sign of the Son of Man is still further defined as having days in it, or in him, or of concerning or pertaining to him or it. Quote unquote. This is coming from Luke chapter 17, scholars. The days come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and shall not see it. Now I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. I have an idea about what he's talking about, but I'm not going to share it. Let's let the author speak. But what is more, the self-same Son of Man seems to have been as well known under the Old Testament as under the New. Okay, well, what's this? As the prophet Daniel saw him. So Daniel saw the Son of Man. When and where? And as exactly as you may. Uh-oh, I know what he's talking about. I already know. Every one of you see him yourselves in the visions of the night. Yes, y'all. We all see the Son of Man in the visions of the night. We all see the 12 zodiac signs. in the visions of the night. Daniel certainly saw the Son of Man in the visions of the night, Daniel chapter 7. Attend ye then to the visions of the night. That is, study astronomy. That is, study astronomy. Look on the immense expanse of the starry heavens, and there you shall see the sign of the Son of Man. That is, the sign of Aquarius, the sign of January, which you cannot go over the 12 cities of Israel without coming back to Aquarius. Aries, go over, the sun passes through each of the next 11 zodiac signs, and then you get to where? Aquarius. You can't pass through the other zodiac signs without coming back to where we began, without going through Aries. Y'all got it? So let's do it again. Attend ye to the visions of the night, that is the study of astronomy. Look on the immense expanse of the starry heavens, and there you shall see the sign of the Son of Man. That is the sign Aquarius, Aquarius the water bearer. The sign of January, which you cannot go over the 12 cities of Israel without coming to, which comes immediately after the days have been shortened. Well, the winter solstice, right? We talked about that. December 21 is the winter solstice. December 25, the sun, for the first time, begins to ascend. So that means for the first time since June 21, which is the summer solstice, the sun has been descending since June 21. The days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter until finally, at the winter solstice, it reaches its maximum number of days or hours of darkness. And then the sun doesn't ascend, the sun does not ascend, and it does not descend. It casts no shadow on the sundial for a full 3 days. Now, December 25, the beginning of December 25, 12 midnight, the sun ascends, and now, for the first time since June 21, the days are lengthening, and the nights are shortening. All right? And there you shall see the sign of the Son of Man, that is Aquarius, the sign of January, which you cannot go over the 12 cities. You cannot go over the 12 zodiac signs of Israel without coming to Aquarius, right? Which comes immediately after the days were shortened. That's Capricorn in December, which made us desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man. It should be clear now, right, scholars? One of the days of the Son of Man, when they are getting longer again. Yes, when the days are getting longer again. All right. Okay, y'all. So Aquarius comes immediately after the days have been shortened, which made us desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, when they are getting longer again, which comes immediately after the end of the world, which ends in December, and which opens the new year, i.e., the new heavens and the new earth, wherein delighted righteousness. Y'all got it? Do I need to go into that? All right. Tell me, when winter is coming, when the adverse sign is seen, Sagittarius, getting cold, the length of the nights or nighttime are getting longer. Tell me y'all don't want it to be summer. Tell me you're not sitting there saying, man, I can't wait till winter ends. I can't wait till summer. True, right? Everybody. We all do it. In fact, we Moors are known for not liking the cold. Right? So we long to see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great glory. Yeah, we want to see the sun ascending. We want winter to end. We want the days to get longer and the nights shorter. We want to feel the power and the energy of the sun. Why? Because we are sun people. Sun makes us feel energetic, makes us feel happy. But there are many hybrids and many others where the sun burns them. The sun gives them pain. The sun makes them suffer. Okay, y'all? The sun makes them suffer, which culminates in cancer, right? Skin cancer. All right? So there it is, y'all. I like it so much, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it again for emphasis. But I'm not going to do any explanation. I just want to have the text without me commenting on the record in the video. All right, y'all? Attend ye then to the visions of the night. That is, study astronomy. Look on the immense expanse of the starry heavens, and there you shall see the sign of the Son of Man. That is, the sign Aquarius, the sign of January, which you cannot go over the 12 cities of Israel without coming to. That is, without coming to Aquarius, which comes immediately after the days have been shortened, which made us desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, when they are getting longer again, which comes immediately after the end of the world, which ends in December, and which opens the new year, i.e., the new heavens and the new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Now, did y'all catch a problem? Did anyone catch the problem here? Did anyone catch what's unnatural? Let me bring it to your attention. Okay, so the days of the Son of Man comes immediately after the end of the world, which ends in December. Does the world end in December? Follow, y'all. And which opens the new year, i.e., the new heavens and the new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Did y'all catch that? See, the new year does not begin in January, according to our ancient ancestors, not even according to modern astrologists, but according to corporations, the year ends in December and the new year begins in January, right? Right, y'all? Now, our ancient ancestors began the new year in Virgo. Now, some people will say, well, Virgo was the beginning of spring at that time, right? Some people will say that. They'll say, well, the Sphinx head is a lion, Leo the lion, and Virgo is the Virgo is the Sphinx head, and Leo the lion is the body of Virgo. So that's the beginning of the zodiac and the end. So Virgo to Leo. Okay? But I would argue against that. Why? Because the beginning of spring, that's when you need to work. Okay? But see, we are in a covenant of grace. That's the fall. That's the harvest. The covenant of grace is the harvest. Right, y'all? December is a winter month. So I take issue with only with his year end and year beginning. Okay? So of course it appears here that he's talking according to the way time is kept in modern times. The year ends in December and the new year begins in January. So that would be, January would be the new heavens and the new earth, or the new year. Okay? But from what I can see, and you can believe whatever you want to believe, you figure it out yourself. I'm just talking about me. The new heaven and the new earth would have to be during harvest time. The new year has to begin during harvest time, because we're in the covenant of grace. All right? If it's beginning in springtime, that's the covenant of work. And we're not in the covenant of work or the covenant of labor. All right? But anyway, let's continue. And here too, and by the way, maybe I'm wrong. I'm only telling you what I can see with my analytical mind. And here too have we the meaning of those eternal riddles about eating the flesh and drinking the blood. Okay, so now I'm even more convinced that it's the harvest. Because when do you get the grain to make bread? At the harvest. When do you get the blood to make wine? At the harvest. Remember, in the spring, that's the next generation growing. So the plants, the vegetation, the fruit, the grape, they have to absorb the sun. And as we read several pages ago about the vinery, y'all remember? About the winemaking process. The grapes have to absorb the sunlight. Okay? And the sunlight is what gives the grape its virtue. And anything after that, remember, when the virtue is gone, anything after that is vinegar. That's why Christ said it is finished. I'm curious what page that's on. Hold on, y'all. So it has to be the harvest, the beginning of the new year for our ancient ancestors, and therefore for us. Right? But I'm not a leader of anything. I'm telling y'all what I see. Okay? But you're responsible for yourself. Not me. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can find this. Well, let's get through this. I'll come back to it, okay? Page 119. And here too have we the meaning of those eternal riddles about eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Son of Man, which from Ganges to the Nile from the Nile to the Thames, through Brahmanical, that's over in Hindustan, modern day India, Egyptian pagan and Christian superstition. And y'all should know that there's no difference between pagan and Christian. The only thing that has happened in Christianity is that they've changed the names of people and places. Added some variations to the stories. Okay, paganism is Christianity and Christianity is paganism. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. And Christian superstition was the universal catachresis of language. Uh-oh, y'all. For a mystery of which the meaning was never any more than the ordinary eating and drinking of the fruits of the earth, which flow to us from the fructifying urn of Aquarius. In other words, Aquarius is pouring water into the fish's mouth. Where do the fish live? On earth. Right? Aquarius is pouring water. So the atmosphere is precipitating water. It's raining. It's raining. Which, well, that's another story. I was going to talk about Aquarius being a woman, but that's another story. So Aquarius is pouring out her water. The water is falling onto the earth. Okay? The snow is melting. The water is falling into the earth. The dead and decaying materials thaw out. Those nutrients become available to the root system of plants. And then they use that nutrition to begin growing and to produce the ongoing or next generation. All of this thanks to Aquarius, the water bearer. It being thus a natural and not a supernatural truth that unless we eat the flesh and drink the blood of the Son of Man, we have no life in us. Y'all got that? Unless you eat the flesh of the fruit, or let me rephrase that. The flesh of the grain, the fruit, for example, the flesh of an orange, the flesh of a peach, the flesh of a grape. Okay? We have no life in us. In other words, you will starve to death unless you eat. Okay? Now, you need to eat every day? Absolutely not. When I did my 45-day water fast, it was my opinion that for my body, I don't need to eat except for maybe every 9 days. Now, I need to get back to that. But that was my opinion at that time. And by the way, you don't feel hungry when you do a long-term water fast. So where are we? So again, when Jesus, the Christ figure, said, let me just go back and read it, okay? I'm going to start from, let me start from and here on page 119. And here too have we the meaning of those eternal riddles about eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Son of Man, which, y'all, I'm sorry I have to interrupt, which is absolutely gross. It's a disgusting thing to think about eating a man's flesh or a hybrid's flesh and drinking the blood. It's disgusting. Okay, well, let me continue reading. So here's the solution to that riddle. Eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Son of Man. Now remember, the Son of Man is not physical Jesus. The Son of Man are the days when the sunlight the number of hours of sunlight are increasing. Okay? So that's going to be December 25. It's still dark, but they're increasing. Then we get to what? February and March, and now March, officially springtime. Right, y'all? It's nice out. Well, not nice. The weather is starting to warm up. We have gentle winds. We have sometimes strong winds. Everybody's coming outside. The days are getting longer. The plants are growing. The plants are catching and harnessing sunlight, right? All the way up until June 21. After that, the sun will begin to fall. So these are the days that the Son of Man represents. Okay, so the Son of Man are those days. Okay, not a physical, fleshly Jesus Christ. So let's continue. And here too, we have the meaning of those eternal riddles about eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Son of Man, which from the Ganges to the Nile, from the Nile to the Thames, from the Brahminical, Egyptian, pagan, and Christian superstitions, you see it in all these religions, through was the universal catachresis of language, for a mystery of which the meaning was never any more than which flowed to us from the fructifying urn of Aquarius. It being thus a natural and not a supernatural truth that unless we eat the flesh and drink the blood of the Son of Man, we have no life in us. And what is a parable? Before that. So keep in mind, scholars, this is talking about eating vegetation and drinking wine. It can be made from a grape. It can be wine made from a tomato. It can be wine made from a peach. It's still wine. But specifically, we're talking about the blood of the grape. All right? And what is a parable? But a something represented to the imagination. Y'all got that? Here's the old activate the imagination, narrative transportation trick, which has no reality. And what is a parable? But something represented to the imagination that has no imagination, like your religious doctrine. I'm sorry, that has no reality, like your religious doctrine. It is a throw by the side, or apart from the line of truth, into the regions of fancy and fiction. In other words, this is a very colorful way of saying it's a lie. All right? It's a lie. In other words, right now, scholars, you religious people, you are living a lie. Your whole life is a lie. Dorothy being in Oz was a lie, right? She was sleeping. When she woke up, it was all a dream. It was all her imagination. Well, that's the same, exact same position that you are in. But you're sleeping with your eyes open. There are 44 parables in the course of the 4 Gospels. So a total of 44 parables. Now, what is the nature of a work that contains admitted parables? What's the nature of a book that contains admitted lies? But evidently, to a work of fiction and imagination. Well, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay? That makes all the sense in the world. Let's discuss it how you might see it today. For you who are in school, for you who have been in school, or let's say for you who are working in corporations or research organizations, would you put together a historical research paper or a scientific research paper and then throw in there parables, throw in there things about fictions, things that we imagine, things that you know are not true, would you put that in your research paper and expect to get a high grade? Would you put that in a scientific paper, a marketing paper, or medical research, whatever? Or would you do a paper for a client? Let's say you're a consultant, whatever, management, consulting, whatever. Would you put together a paper and then throw in there parables? Imagine, I can't think of the word. Imaginary facts, imaginary conclusions, imaginary assumptions. Would y'all put that in there? Absolutely not. Would you put it in a work, book, a paper that's meant to be a fairy tale? Absolutely you would. Right? Absolutely you would. This is what the author is saying. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the nature of a work that contains admitted parables, but evidently a work of fiction and imagination? A work in which one thing is said and another is meant. Can y'all imagine that? I got to order something to eat, y'all. I'm starting to feel hypoglycemic. Actually, I know what it was. I ate the ginger with this looks like white processed sugar. So I'm having a sugar crash. Why you shouldn't eat unprocessed sugar. It makes you crash. Not a good feeling. Oh, y'all. Oh, I'm walking. Y'all see my little injury? I was walking in a store, not paying attention because it was a terrible storm yesterday. And I'm all wet. Everything's wet. I'm walking and bang, hit my head on the part of the ceiling. Cut my head. And that was no fun because it bled and, of course you need to worry. And because I couldn't get any antibiotic or any. Yesterday was a terrible day in terms of weather. But anyway, let me do this one last paragraph, y'all, which has some good stuff in it. And then I'm going to wrap it up because I'm hungry. I need to eat something. But parables, our parsons tell us, parsons are the religious, I think it may be, I don't remember which denomination, but they're religious leaders, are easy and familiar modes of instruction. That's right. Isn't that what your religious leader told you? What parables are? Again, parables, our parsons or religious leaders tell us, are easy and familiar modes of instruction, graciously adopted by our blessed Savior in order to convey his divine lessons more clearly in mind or to the mind. Are they so? And did he therefore speak in parables in order to assist our comprehension and to enable us, that is to enable us to understand? Is that true, y'all? Is it true? Let's continue reading. Quote unquote. Oh yes, the parsons tell you, oh yes, that's true. Only it's rather awkward when we find himself saying, himself is Jesus, the Christ figure. Now y'all notice the technique of this lie that we just read. Let me read it again. Parables are easy and familiar modes of instruction graciously adopted by our blessed Savior in order to convey his divine lessons more clearly to the mind. That's very positive, right? Positive, uplifting. It's to your benefit. It's meant to help you. Now notice what Jesus Christ himself said is a parable. JC says, therefore speak I to them in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear but not understand. A parable, according to Jesus the Christ figure, is meant to keep you in the dark. It's meant for you to see something but not perceive it. Y'all got it? For example, this straw is here. I see it, but I can't perceive that if I keep going, it's going to hurt me. Look, it has a point on it. See, I can't perceive danger. My eyes see the danger, but I don't perceive it as being dangerous. Y'all got it? My eyes see something coming that can hurt me, or something that is hurting me, or somebody that is hurting me. I see him with my eyes, but my brain, my mind does not perceive the danger. My brain does not perceive the injury that they're causing me. That's the purpose of a parable. In other words, it detaches your senses, which is how you interact and perceive your environment. It's how you interact with your environment and other living things through the eyes and your perception. Okay? That's how you interact. That's called concrete paradigm. So now you take away the eyes. The eyes are present. You can see, but you can't perceive. You don't perceive the danger. You don't perceive that you are being stabbed in the back. Your blood is being sucked out of you. You don't perceive that your inheritance has been stolen. Okay? You don't perceive the lie. Clear? Now he says the parable is also meant to do what? Affect your hearing. Therefore speak I to them in parables, that seeing they may see. See, the literal eyes work and not perceive. The visual center is not working. The eyes work. You get the perception of light, but the visual center is not working. So you don't see it. You don't see the danger. I think I've made that point clear. And hearing they may hear, so the ears work. Your eardrum works, but not understand. But when the vibratory signals go to the brain, you don't understand what you heard. Let me ask y'all this. If you don't understand what you heard and you respond verbally, are your words appropriate for what you heard? In other words, when you hear legalese and you speak connotative English or connotatively, is that right? Are you giving the right response? No. Y'all see why we don't respond properly? Because we don't know the language. When we hear the legalese, we don't understand it. And then we speak and we incriminate ourselves. Anything you say can and will be held against you. Why? You have no understanding about the language of law. Okay? So you heard what the so-called magistrate said, the non-Article 3 judge, magistrate. You heard what the unrighteous judge said. You heard it. You heard what the prosecutor said. But you didn't understand. And what you said incriminated you. You showed evidence of being a Moorish subject. Right? Through your words and through your state of mind. You showed that you're living in Oz. That you are disrespecting the principles of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Right? Honor your mother and your father. Honor your ancient mothers and fathers so that it may go well with you on the earth plane that I am giving you. Now I'm saying that paraphrasing, but y'all know what I'm talking about. That's Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Is it clear, scholars? So yes, parables. In fact, you know what? I can relate. I'm going to say parables in modern times. This is legalese. Parables in modern times, that's legalese. Okay? Parables are legalese. And so let me ask you, why are the people in the inner house speaking to you using legalese? So that seeing, you don't perceive. So you read it, you can't perceive, understand what it means. You see them, foreigners, talking about they have jurisdiction over you. And actually, when you get out of that paradigm, it becomes common sense and obvious to you. But right now, you can't see that. You can't see that your estate is yours to enjoy and benefit from. Many of you can't see that. Why? Because your eyes are disconnected from your visual center and you're disconnected from nature. So you can't perceive that you're being injured, that you're being harmed, that they don't have any jurisdiction. They're foreigners. Okay? And of course, when we hear verbally, also when they send you letters in the mail demanding you do this and you appear and all of this stuff, we can't perceive it for what it is because we are under a spell. That's why Jesus spoke in parables. He set the example for them to speak to us in parables. Legalese are parables. He set the example. Okay? But when you learn legalese, it's like you're on the inside of the house because you cracked the code. Now, you don't have the protections, but you crack the code and you can understand it. Right? And therefore, you can what? You can protect yourself. You have power, the ability to act. All right? So hearing, you hear, but you don't understand. Like a lot of y'all hear what I'm saying right now, and you hear others who are trying to get this information to you, but you don't understand it. You reject it because it's not your familiar religious stuff. Others of you have been in a non-Article 3 court, and you heard what was said, but you didn't understand it, and you got punked out and dogged out and robbed of your birthright. Okay, but now we understand and we know who we are. We know about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1836, between the Almoroccan Empire and the United States of North America. Right? We know about that. We know that we are the people in the preamble. We know about diversity of citizenship. And we know how to enforce. And we're learning, right? Every day. We are learning. So these parables and this legal ease is starting to lose its power and effectiveness. Y'all hear me? So that's what it is in modern times, y'all. Oh, what a clear way of conveying divine instruction to the mind. This accounts for Christian, and by the way, if y'all go follow up on this verse that we just quote, therefore speak I to them in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear but not understand. If y'all follow up on that, follow this research out, you're going to see Jesus' reason for not wanting them to perceive or denying them the opportunity to perceive and denying them the opportunity to understand. His reason is that he did not want them to repent. He didn't even want them to have a chance to repent. He didn't want them to be saved. Y'all got it? That's his motive. That's his reason, the outcome he wanted. He wants you to what? Be doomed, as he said. Okay? Burn in hell. Or not get resurrected. Okay? You won't even be able to perceive or understand that your due process of law, that obligation, has been denied you, stolen from you, which is the beginning of law. And which is an extremely important part of how we enforce our rights, enforce the Constitution. Okay, y'all? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as you learn. Oh, what a clear way of conveying divine instruction to the mind. This accounts for Christians being such wonderfully clever boys as they are. No, they're criminal-minded, and they do it through linguistics. Y'all watch the video I did on Semites. I think it's like a Pinocchio nose guy. Thumbnail, a guy with a hybrid with a Pinocchio nose. Watch it to the end so you can see what the meaning of Semite is, okay, relative to what we're talking about right now. This accounts for Christians being such wonderfully clever boys as they are. The greater proficiency they make in studying of divine things, the less they know of divine things. The more they get on, the more they get off. They go to school to learn ignorance. They'd have known more if they had been taught less. That's talking about the indoctrination process, y'all, okay? So that should the Society for Promoting Christian Knowledge have all the success they aim at, we shall all be parabolized. We shall all be parabolized. In other words, the more they teach you, the less you know. The more they teach you, the more they take you away from nature and natural law. Therefore, the less you know. Let me say that again. The more they teach you, the more you become distracted and disassociated with nature. Therefore, the less you know, the weaker you get. Clear? Yeah, you may know your religious doctrine, but it has no power in nature. Nature will overcome that always. And your religious doctrine is useless. Okay? So we shall all become parabolized, right? In other words, we shall all what? See but not perceive, hear and not understand through the doctrine. Whereas in nature, we see and we perceive. When we live according to nature, the 5 principles, when we follow the Most High's instructions, we see, we perceive, we hear, we understand. And we have complete and unchallengeable control of our thoughts, and we develop our imagination, and we function and perform as quote-unquote gods. All right? Psalms 82:6. Let's continue. Till we shall, quote, know nothing but Jesus Christ and him crucified. Now, that's what the Catholics, that's what the Christians want you to know. Nothing but Jesus and him crucified. And nobody will ever again get into danger of hellfire for calling his brother a fool. Okay? Clear? So y'all make a choice. What do you want? Do you want to know Jesus Christ, the fairy tale story, and him crucified, which is a remix of astronomy, astrology? That's not even real? Or do you want to harmonize and be harmonic with nature? Have full access and use of your senses, your eyes and your ears. Have full perception and understanding. Have full use of the functionality of your mind. Specifically, I want to focus on here your imagination, your God faculty, along with your reticular activating system. Living the principles of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which is following the commandments of the Most High. Honoring our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Now you're walking into what? You're being who you are. Okay? And the more we do that, the more we become the Christ. The more distortions we remove from our self-image, meaning the more foes we overcome. And when we overcome all of our foes, we are what? That's the great I am that exists outside of the body, the undistorted self-image, always and forever in the higher self, staying in honor at all costs and at all times, right? In possession of your birthright and ability to successfully defend it. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yusapa from Zion Law School. Thanks everybody who spent your time with me right now. We've been at it for about 2 hours and 20 minutes almost. Special thanks to those who have supported my project to write the Book of the Law in modern English and Ancient Ibaryath, so you can see the etymological meaning of every word. You'll see the grammar rules. You'll see the astronomy, the astrology, philology, everything that I talk about in my classes. And now we'll go into the Book of the Law. But I need you guys' continued support to do it, because it's a big project and I can't do it on my own. Okay, and I certainly don't want to suffer eating. I'm in Asia, soy sauce and rice and fish sauce every day. I don't want to do that once a day. But anyway, so thanks y'all. Thanks for also buying my books and subscribing to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath class. I'm beyond suffering, y'all. Suffering ain't for me. I did that in my Christian days. So I'm walking in the blessings, and I intend to stay there. Okay? And I intend to do it by staying in honor, and staying in honor at all costs, at all times, and living the 5 principles, which is following the pattern, the lifestyle, the principles of my ancient foremothers and forefathers. Islam to all the Moors, and Shalom.